Anyway, so I want to start by saying that this story has been mentioned by the head constable of the crime. As in my career of 17 years so far, I've never seen a crime scene like this, and I hope I do not ever have to. So this is the context that I want to set for the story. This is how shady the story is. This is how creepy the story is.
Yeah, but then again, it depends. It depends on where the head constable is from. If he's from Andaman,
he's from Delhi, Aadarsh. He's from Delhi. I think he's seen enough in his life.
That's dark.
If he's from Delhi, I'm sure he's seen a lot.
So a regular constable from Delhi, and if he's claiming something like this, I think that is quite shocking for sure.
I mean, pretty much Delhi's constable has seen a lot. So
Everything in life.
Literally everything.
Everything that is.
Yeah.
So basically, this story starts from a normal neighborhood called Burari in Delhi. It's just like every other middle-class neighborhood in Delhi. But everything unexpectedly changed on the 2nd of July, 2018, when this whole incident has happened. So the entire shift came from a phone call from a resident in Burari who called up the local police station. And the police constable came in to check out what the incident was. And he saw 11 dead bodies who basically hanged themselves, who belonged to the same family.
Others, just take a look at the scroll bar.
Yeah, I did that first thing actually. I'm trying to find the number of pages on this shit. First of all, I'm buzzed, and then they fucking want to show me 11 people killed from a place that I belong to, and then I have to listen to I don't know how many pages are there.
So the second podcast will be on Goa, no, Karl, so don't worry. We'll go region by region.
Yeah.
So as you can see from the picture, this guy Lalit, his 2 kids, his wife, his brother, his mom, his sister, his sister's daughter. It was 11 of them who hanged themselves in this house. It was their own house. That is what a constable who woke up in the morning to this call had to see. Looking at these bodies, then he realized they were actually not normal deaths because they were all blindfolded.
Yeah, no shit. 11 people hanging.
That image is so fucking creepy.
Their mouth stuffed with cloth.
Can you imagine the head constable entering a house and 11 people be like, yeah, I mean, this is Delhi, it's okay.
It's very hanging yourself is a very normal way to die.
This happened just yesterday while my daughter was getting an ice cream.
Yeah. It's not
But then
creepy picture.
The weird part about this thing was that, so all of their mouths were completely covered with a cloth. Their hands were tied behind, their limbs as well, and their eyes were completely blindfolded. So someone was definitely helped them out or did this in general. So they didn't do it without help.
All 11 had their hands cuffed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was obviously someone else involved.
Right.
So except I think the grandmother.
I think grandmom was just on the side or something.
And then maybe she was the one who helped it all, right?
Yeah, it could possibly be, but we don't know, right?
And the 10 people who died apparently died in a circular formation, which is also an interesting fact that the constable observed and reported.
It's just convenient, I think. It's closer to each other.
I don't know. Seriously.
I mean, convenience.
You've thought a lot about suicide, Aadarsh. You seem to have thought a lot about suicide, Aadarsh.
I've had my gloomy days.
Yeah. So I need to talk to you about how normal the family is, okay? It's super average, super middle class family, and the guy, the main guy whom we're going to talk about, his name's Lalit Singh. So he's the younger brother amongst the family. So it's he's still old, he has kids and stuff and his own family. But he is the younger brother in the family, and he was a plywood distributor, and their shop was just below their house. So that's just like normal regular family. Lalit Singh's niece, Priyanka, she was engaged and she was about to get married. The company that she works at, they said that yeah, she was an exemplary person. She used to perform really well, and like yeah, the whole family was normal as such. It's pretty average family. That's what I want to say.
I think the elder brother owned a grocery store, and yeah, he apparently had good interactions with everyone around when the police was investigating about their family and stuff. So, like in a grocery store, normally you go and chat with the owner and stuff. So it's just like a neighborhood grocery store that he owned. There's nothing out of the box or like a sign or anything as such. So it was an absolutely normal middle class family. Both of the wives were housewives, just normal housewives, and. Their mother was at home and the sister and like the kids were just going to school, and the older ones were working like everyday IT software companies, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if they owned a 3-bedroom house in Delhi, they weren't like suffering financially or something like that. They seemed to be pretty well off.
You can't say that, but I mean,
No, I wouldn't say they were well off, but like yeah.
But average middle class, nothing outside, nothing out of the ordinary.
They weren't poor.
So they basically used some kind of stools to hang themselves, and the police actually found only 5 stools, which was not sufficient for all the 10 people to hang themselves in somewhere. So in
a way they were actually helping each other hang themselves, or they were sharing stools to fucking hang. So you understand, right?
or
Like
there was an external murder.
Yes, but then the whole idea is that the person who was helping them or committing the crime was actually seeing them suffer or die.
it's fucking weird, dude. Because like either they were helping each other out, or they were like someone was like murdering them.
Maybe they were all drugged and yeah.
How do we know they didn't share the stool? If they were in a circle, it's possible they shared the stool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be possible. Like yeah, it's just a speculation though that it could be like one after another, or they could have just shared the stools and stuff. Yeah, but like those are the theories that are floating around.
And we're talking about Delhi police here. We're not talking about some corruption-free police. So you don't even know if these facts portrayed to us are correct from the start.
Technically, it's not a high-profile case that the police will try to alter with the facts in any way. What does the police get out of this case if they don't portray the facts in any way?
I think you can easily corrupt constables for a lakh or two, maybe. Yeah.
But I think this particular incident had gained so much attention in general, grabbed so much attention that it went beyond a normal constable or something that they would bribe them. Because there was too much media attention on this, or like there was a lot of speculations in general. So.
But I mean, considering whatever little we know so far about the stools and that their hands were tied, it seems more and more likely that there was another person involved who assisted in all this and then disappeared.
Yeah.
So then other things that the police inspected from the house and found was like everyday food like black chana and stuff for the next day meal. So they were not prepared for this in any way. I think the idea is that they were expecting to go back to their normal the next day, which increases the speculation of some other external agent being involved in it in some way. Why would you have food for yourself for the next day? So that was just one observation that the police investigation had made.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, that makes sense. Or they were. I mean, this is a very wild imagination, but maybe one of them was trying to hypnotize everybody on a random night and
hypnotize.
It could have been an impulsive decision, right? That's also a possibility. I mean, like, they suddenly got some bad news about maybe a business or something like that. Okay, our lives are ruined now. Might as well end it all.
So one more important observation that the police made is there was no struggle with the bodies and stuff. So the family apparently, if they had hanged themselves, they did it like like with their own will, not someone external agent. So this whole speculation of some external agent helping them out kind of goes down a bit because there is no struggle scene.
Was there a drug test performed in the post?
So we are going step by step. So this is the observations that the police were making just by looking at the bodies or like the crime scene in general. Okay. So this is the first report kind of thing where they're just observing the area around the murder scene and stuff like that. So they still haven't done like an autopsy or like whatever the medical procedures that happen. That probably will happen eventually. But this is like the initial observation that the police is making.
So here there's like a change in the pace. Yeah. So here is where the things get weird.
Even as of today, the autopsies are not done.
I mean, there are the things like like autopsies, the body autopsies where physical autopsies were done and stuff. But like 11 people hanging themselves, like there's not much like investigation that you can do at that point. Right? Like all of the family members are dead.
A drug test to check if.
Yeah, I mean they must have done all of that stuff because you can see here, right? Like no one was found to be stressed as indicated by the presence of fecal matter in the large intestine of all deceased. So basically, like they have done like body
observation, let's understand things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where there's a change of pace in the story. There were actually like the police found a notebook, like it's a diary of Lalit Singh. And then it contains a few very disturbing entries. You can see like what's written in that. Like Satish will tell you about it.
अंतिम समय में आखिरी इच्छा के पूर्ति के वक्त आसमान हिलेगी, धरती कांपेगी। उस वक्त तुम घबराना मत, मंत्र का जप बढ़ा देना, मैं आकर उतार लूँगा, औरों को भी उतारने में मदद करूँगा।
Some weird shit, dude. Like, so it's English English version translates to in your last hours, whilst your last wish is fulfilled, the sky will open up and the earth will shake. Don't panic, but start chanting the mantra louder. I will come and save you and the others.
Was this the last entry in the diary?
This was one of the important entries that caught the police officer's attention. I would say that for sure.
So yeah, this is where we need to start telling you about Lalit Singh.
So his family was basically from Rajasthan. They moved to Delhi, obviously for economical reasons. So we are going to discuss about some important major incidents in his life, which probably could have led to this. So one such incident is in 2004, where he basically met with some kind of fire accident in one of his plywood facilities. It was a bit it was an accident caused by someone apparently, but he didn't file any police complaint or anything because that's what happens. Normal middle class families, you go and settle it down. But apparently during this whole process, he had lost his voice as a consequence of this accident. So that is one major incident.
Lalit could not speak?
So he could not speak?
No, he could not speak.
Okay, This is the twist to the tale.
So this happened in 2004.
We have history of trauma.
And did they find out who caused the accident that prevented him from being able to speak?
Yes, it was caused by someone. It was some kind of a fight or something like that that caused the accident. But then apparently they settled out of court.
Okay, so it was arson and Lalit knew who caused it.
Yes.
Okay.
So then one other major incident that could have caused some kind of effect was in 2007 when his dad passed away, Lalit's dad, due to some respiratory illness. So apparently this affected him a lot. So when the police was interviewing the neighbors and stuff, some information that they had got from this is once Lalit's dad passed away, normally you have like a religious ceremony for like the next few days, like 10 days, to mourn for your loved ones, that kind of thing. And they had something similar for his father. And during this religious ceremony, apparently out of the blue, like this happened. So he lost his voice in 2004, and this is around in 2007. Middle of nowhere, out of the blue, during this religious procession, Lalit starts chanting on top of his voice, Om, Om, Om. This guy who could not speak for the last 3 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
On top of his voice.
So he wasn't physically disabled, clearly.
Yeah. So basically, they claim that his voice came back, and everybody in the room started shouting, "Daddy, aa gaya, Daddy, aa gaya."
That's not how it works, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're physically disabled during the fire,
No, that's not possible, right? Yeah, obviously.
He
But
was mentally
After the procession, was he able to continue to speak properly, or did he lose his voice again?
So we know that he
He got back his voice according to what
because
he said.
there are reports of him speaking to people of how he got back the voice. So I'm assuming that he's got like proper speech after that.
So it was possibly just mental trauma that.
Yeah, probably.
It's trauma. It's a clear case of trauma. Yeah. But I mean, this is an interesting finding about Lalit's life. But considering there are 11 people that we know of, and then there could be more, but 11 people that we know of, and we are focusing only on one person's story right now. But let's see if we are focusing on more people's stories.
And Lalit also was the youngest son, right?
Yes, he was the younger son. Yes.
So generally, in an Indian household, it's after the father passes away, it's the elder son who kind of takes charge and runs the family, right?
Yes. That is actually the point that we're trying to put forth actually, that during this whole time, right, when he was after he got back the voice, he took this weird position in the family where he started actually leading the family, and not even his elder brother. It's him that started leading the family, and he started maintaining this weird diary where he used to note down stuff about thinking that he's talking to his father. His father used to give him moral decisions to make, puja path ka, he would be giving instructions, he'd be giving financial instructions, and this is happening since 2007 all the way up to whenever this incident has occurred.
Yeah, but it's a very common behavior you see. Even I've seen this in my personal life. Like I had this shopkeeper who was like full hipster, okay, like full bike person and tattoos and like a good hairstyle and whatnot. And this guy met with an accident and just merely survived it. And then from that point of time, he became so spiritual and so religious. Forget spiritual, he was like all religious, which he was never in life before. And he had already come out of the accident physically, but mentally
He's still there.
You're always there. You're always there. The time just stops, I think.
And I think for a lot of people also, I mean, when you experience personal trauma, that's when you see the appeal of religion and God.
Yeah.
So once naturally, like you guys mentioned, once someone has some kind of trauma, people tend to become more spiritual and religious. So something similar happened to him as well. So apparently, according to reports, after this whole incident and stuff, the family stopped eating non-vegetarian food, and they started becoming more religious. They started organizing more pujas and stuff. And there was one particular incident which caught the attention of one of the neighbors. When one of the neighbors was invited for one of the pujas around 9 o'clock in the night, everyone started saying, including the kids, that daddy aa gaya, daddy aa gaya, daddy aa gaya.
Daddy ke aane ka time ho gaya, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Every night around 9 p.m. they would sit together and
do puja, and one particular night when one of the neighbors was invited as well. So they started chanting this kind of stuff.
I contradict your first statement. I think you guys started with this was a normal family. I don't see
Clearly
this is not normal at all. How many families do you know that have gone through trauma and then they fucking chant in the middle of
So
not normal.
there is
So
one
we
other
had a-
mention.
We had a puja every night, and every night the night that someone was there, we observed that everyone thought Lalit's father had come back.
This is not
Yeah.
normal.
Yes,
So
to some
I-
extent.
Yeah. So basically, Lalit used to be this guy who's like channeling his father's, basically his dead father's.
Energy.
Yeah, energy kind of. Yeah, it's weird.
It's already weird.
So yeah, like the two teenagers that used to stay at the house, like the kids, they never had access to laptops. They never had access to phones. There was only one computer at home, and they were only supposed to use
that's
that.
pretty common. Like that's a common middle class.
No, but I think like
family.
No,
Maybe
but
it was
then
common
once
when
around,
we were
right?
growing up, Aadarsh. Maybe it was common when we were growing up, but not
This
anymore.
is then,
I mean,
right?
This
This
is
is
2004.
then.
It's 2000.
No.
No, I mean like
When
this
is
is
this?
like recent, dude. Like this is what they were 15 by the time they died. So I mean, I'm pretty sure
When was the story? What year?
it's 2018.
So,
Yeah, so come on.
so the death happened. So the incident
15-year-olds
happened in
have-
2018. Yeah.
yeah.
In 2018, 14, 15-year-olds have phones.
Yeah, that's true. Phones at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Laptops more.
I mean, yeah, they
Okay.
and there's always somebody to survey to have surveillance. Is weird, right? Like I personally feel we don't do it anymore. At least now.
I know a guy who has told me he sits with his father and tries to call the spirits and whatnot. Like,
What the
we
fuck?
got him drunk and he told us about this. I'll reveal the name later maybe.
Okay,
That's pretty cool. Dude.
Sounds like a normal family to me, Aadarsh.
I'll put a checkpoint now and you can edit. He was once home and we got him like super drunk and then he started telling, we were like about 10 people in the hall and started telling how every time he goes back home he sits with his father middle of the night around 3 a.m. And then they sit and they have to focus for 2 or 3 hours and then the spirits come and start moving things around the halls. And we were just like, trying to encourage him to talk more. So
Obviously.
I guess I've been a culprit in such crimes. So I
No, but
might have caused
in his
some
story,
issues.
were they known ghosts or spirits? Like, were they relatives or were they random people?
I don't exactly remember, but I think when they talk about spirits, like at least in our culture, when they talk about spirits, it's usually relatives.
Yeah, like grandparents, I don't know, uncles, aunts, who passed away or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's absolutely no. Well, if I had to guess, probably I would have guessed like out of everyone. That would be my guess, I would say, for sure.
Let's not call this family normal anymore. Let's go ahead. Let's read the case history.
A few things about the engagement that you need to know is like the engagement that was going to happen. The marriage that was going to happen. This lady who's about to get engaged, she didn't invite anybody from her work. Even the people who were taking pictures, she didn't want anybody to post them on Facebook. So it's really weird the way she was hiding stuff around the thing. They were very secretive in that sense for some reason. And
But
she didn't want
was it
anybody to
just-
know.
Was it just her who was secretive or was the family secretive in general?
Looks like the family now.
Nobody got to know anything about all this stuff, right? Like, so I'm assuming
There were a few incidents where they seemed a bit secretive, but there are a few incidents that people have reported when the police was investigating, like in Lalit's plywood shop. The assistant who works with Lalit was apparently crying when the police was investigating because he recalled an incident where during the whole demonetization phase, his assistant was supposed to get married and he didn't have any money. So apparently Lalit went and stood in an ATM queue at 3 o'clock in the morning so that his assistant could have some money. when the police was talking to the neighbors, their kids apparently played with the kids from this family every day, and they didn't see anything out of the ordinary, just a normal middle class family. So there were a lot of reports of them doing like.
They're really helpful
things.
people actually. If you see, there's another story.
I don't see any relation between being a good person and being a fucked up, mentally fucked up person at the same time. I don't see a relation in general.
Yeah, I mean, people with mental illness may portray themselves to be nice.
They actually be nice people. They don't.
There is also a thing where think people like this believe that they do stuff for the sake of good.
Right.
So there's also that element to it. So you can't deny that actually. But they're really helpful family. There's also another story where actually the mother of Lalit, so that's the grandmom of the kids. She had raised the neighbor's son for almost a year apparently. Like who raises neighbor's son? Like I mean that's how helpful they were. They were changing nappies and stuff. They were doing like they were really helpful in that sense. Like that. So not everybody does.
This comes up when like the neighbors when they were building their part of the house. Like the house beside theirs. So when they were busy with the whole construction activity and stuff, so they had a little kid to take care of, which was very difficult. So they would often leave the little kid with the grandparents, like with the parents of Lalit. Yeah. And apparently they used to offer like free help every day, like for almost a year, to change the kids' nappies, to feed them and stuff like that.
Yeah, but this only like distracts. If you're reading it very practically, the case, it only distracts with sympathy that this family was a good family. I don't think it
doesn't prove anything.
It doesn't prove any part of it. Okay, they were a good family, but that doesn't mean they were not mentally disturbed.
So they were not a lot of signs.
Yeah.
So it always brings out this theory that there were not a lot of signs showing there's something out of the ordinary happening that could have led. So it always increases the
no one suspected it, like no one saw that coming or anything like that. That's all I mean it was so secretive that nobody knew that this was going to happen.
Right. But I think where this plays a role, that they were a good family and like they were a normal family when it comes to working class people and business culture mixed in the family. What makes sense by displaying this information is that the intent of murderer could be maybe justified. If like there is a fucked up family like who does all shady business, there is much higher chance that the family was murdered, but right now it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, but if you look at it, in most cases of suicide, when you speak to anyone who knew the deceased, they'll all say that, he was a nice guy, he wasn't really depressed, we never expected it.
Yeah.
So I think, mental depression is most people don't show signs. I think more males than females, they're trained not to show emotions, like a sign of weakness.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair, I guess.
Yeah, so basically then we can talk about what was there in the diary. So I think Satish will tell you more about it. Yeah.
So when the police started investigating more, looking into more aspects of this murder and stuff, and or killing or whatever it is. So once they started going through the diary, they found some interesting, I would say, entries in the diary. So basically the entries started off from few days later after Lalit's father's death, basically. So they saw it in some way, it was like his way of coping up from his father's death. So one of the entries says, I will come tomorrow or day after. If I don't, then I will come later. Don't worry about this, Lalit. When I come, he becomes tense.
Wait, who wrote this? Whose diary is this?
So this is Lalit's diary, and it's talking about Lalit.
It seems to be written in the voice of the father.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Are they trying to imply that he was possessed by his father while he was writing?
He was getting some kind of instructions he was getting from his father that he was trying to put in his diary, and basically some kind of instruction that his dad was giving for the family that he was trying to implement in some way. Like there were like a lot of things written in the diary which showed like a very harsh tone, like he was trying to scold people or like trying to impose some kind of order in the family and things like these, or like to inculcate some kind of habits. Or like financial instructions for the betterment of the family. But you have to understand, this was not the eldest son of the family; he was the youngest one.
And
but I think that what was the eldest son doing?
The eldest son was just listening to whatever Lalit was saying. Like I'm assuming he just like took second fiddle kind of thing.
Yeah, but I meant like work-wise, professionally. What does the
so
eldest son?
He had his own grocery store like a couple of streets beside his house.
And Lalit had
the plywood shop.
The plywood shop.
Probably plywood did more business, and then whoever earns more money speaks in the family.
Yeah, I mean, it's a logical conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also a fact that like this guy suddenly, out of 3 years, he suddenly starts speaking, and then he says he claims that okay, I'm being able to speak because of my father, right? Because I'm being able to see my father. I mean, that's also
that's a clear case of trauma.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
and
it's true, but like
that-
that's not what these people see, right? Like that's not what the elders like. These people are not seeing it as certain mental trauma that got lifted or whatever. You get what I'm trying to say, right? They're just looking at it in terms of. Okay, this guy just started speaking again. So, like they are only looking at it in a spiritual sense. So
It's good news. Yeah.
In some way, he was like the messenger who was just taking the dad's. He was his dad's voice in some way. So dad was still in charge if Lalit was in charge.
They probably
That's
assumed that his dad had taken over Lalit, and therefore what Lalit says was as good as the dad saying it so well. He's still the head of the family.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good possibility that they all actually knew about this, that, Lalit can talk to the dad and we should listen to Lalit. Yeah. It's a very plausible explanation.
yeah.
So the police, further investigating the stuff and all, were quite puzzled, I would say. Like, even after all this, like, apparently they found out that the house was recently painted for the wedding of the niece, so for Lalit's niece, who got engaged recently. Like, why would someone get engaged, like, look forward for the future and get everything renovated, and then this big incident happening was something that the police did not understand, because for them it looked like a suicide. Why would someone do that? Like, that's something they just could not answer at that point of time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were not prepared to die that day, but they were obedient to whatever Lalit says. It's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Lalit convinced them that was what his father wanted, or their grandfather or father wanted. So
maybe they all knew that it was time, and clearly they, like, one previous sentence mentioned that it was time for the dad to come back. The kids were chanting for granddad or whatever, and I mean, clearly the family was in some way very believable and gullible. I wouldn't say gullible, maybe they really believed it, and they really thought that this is the way that we can meet him, and this is the way that we want to live our life. Out of respect, maybe.
Yeah, but then obviously, like, after this whole incident has happened and stuff, then obviously, like, the most natural thing is the neighbors and everyone around will start conspiracy theories. So one really popular conspiracy theory that came out of, like, our little research, one of Teja's favorite conspiracy theories is that apparently, so the house, on one of the side walls, there were 11 empty pipes going out, 7 of them bent, and 4 of them straight.
There were 7 females and like what?
So there were 7 female deaths and 4 male deaths, and there was absolutely no use of that pipes. No one knew why they were hanging out. So one of the neighbors was claiming that it could be because the plywood store downstairs released a lot of toxic fumes and stuff. so that fumes are routed through those pipes and they go out and stuff. But then the plywood factory was downstairs and the pipes were upstairs, so there was no way that was used for it.
Yeah, but did the police look into where the pipes went? I mean, they couldn't be. Someone would have looked into it, right? Did the pipes go to a drain, or were they ending in concrete, or were they entering the house just like that?
I don't think they cared to check. It's pipes. Unless it's going somebody up somebody's ass, I don't think they cared.
So the speculation around, you have to understand it's a middle class neighborhood in Delhi. Not a lot of people. I don't know. A lot of people have superstitions and stuff. So the popular
we are talking about the
superstition.
same people who put their handprints on the houses during the witch time.
So the popular superstition was those 11 pipes were used for their souls to escape from that house because it was haunted. So the souls used those pipes to escape out to the free world.
That's
an interesting one.
Now.
That was the conspiracy theory that spread out, and it got quite popular actually.
Yeah, so apparently finally they decided that the police finally concluded that these guys were suffering, like all of the 11 family members were suffering from a shared psychotic disorder. And they, in the handwritten notes of Lalit in the diary, it said like they were trying to attain salvation.
So basically, one more interesting aspect is how they died that the police observed is apparently they were trying to attain this phenomenon called Bodh Tapasya, where you hang yourself in a way that you represent the roots of a banyan tree.
You have to elaborate on that, Satish.
So you understand how a banyan tree looks like, right? The branches fall down and etc. So these guys were actually trying to emulate that. Like they actually were trying to emulate the circular formulation with their bodies by hanging themselves and stuff. So that's screwed up.
It seems like a bit of a stretch on the investigation part.
That's what the diary
There's lot of missing facts. Like, okay, the notebooks. First of all, only one diary was found. Where like completely.
No, two registers found in two registers. This guy is maintaining since like 2000.
Yeah, but from the
but a single
diary.
Person.
Yeah, from a single person. Yes.
We are talking about a diary, and then that diary could be planted there because I don't know if they actually did, I don't know what's it called,
handwriting analysis,
carbon dating or whatever, to see whether the notes were written 10 years ago or not, whether they were written on the same day or one day before. You can check those things.
That was actually going to be one of my next points. I mean, how do they know the diary was authentic?
Exactly.
It could have been a plan.
Could be planted.
I mean,
very simple. They could just do a handwriting match and see. I mean, I'm sure there would be some notes or something.
I'm pretty sure, like, if it was that high profile of a case, they might have gone through it. Like, I'm not sure, but like, I agree that like there's no way that we can actually figure that out. The reports have not said that, so we don't know.
So basically, what the police found out from reading the diary and stuff is that Lalit obviously strongly influenced his whole family to have this. So basically, it's called a shared psychotic disorder because whatever psychological state you're in, you're going to share that with everyone else. And he did that, and he influenced that because he was in a powerful position in his family. Everyone was kind of forced to listen to him in some way, and he slowly, eventually, in a planned way, executed this whole thing.
So because in the diary it's like since 2015 he's been planning this, like there are reports of how he has to execute it step by step, since 2015 to 2018 this whole plan has been happening. So it's
I mean, a quarantine of just 2 months is enough to show you that brain can do whatever it is.
Yeah.
And one interesting aspect I thought was that the spectrum, the age spectrum of the people who suffered is that there is people from the age of 15 to 77. Yes, a 15-year-old kid might be gullible. Yes, you can convince him and stuff like that. But the whole spectrum, like there were people who went to like decent colleges, schools, who were decently smart enough to figure out about these things. But then it's how Lalit convinced all of them into his psychological delusion is quite interesting for me, I would say.
So, assuming that there were no external people involved, because there was no sign of struggle and there was nothing found ingested, the question that you put in the starting still remains that all of their hands were tied. There were 11 people, and then
except the grandmother.
There were 5 stools, and then except the grandmother. Yeah, okay. Well, grandmother can go around and tie everybody's hands and everything.
Or it's just that one person was helping out everyone else till they died.
Yeah.
So they were so convinced about this idea that they were actually helping each other, the family members, to die, and eventually they will also commit the suicide. So it was this mass suicide.
It has to be the grandmother, right? Because you can't tie your own hands.
Yeah. So the last one, maybe the grandmother helped, but the rest, they helped each other to kill, and they actually witnessed each other's killing. So that's the most disturbing part of this story, I would say.
Yeah, but Satish, regarding the age spectrum, I mean, assuming all this started after the grandfather died, maybe it was just like, everyone was in trauma at that point of time and they were very susceptible to being influenced. And once they were influenced, it was just a rabbit hole that, okay, well, now we believe this.
I'm pretty sure there is a spectrum of belief
that
also.
It was true. Yeah. I mean, maybe one of them wasn't very sure, but family pressure or peer pressure.
Family
or
pressure.
whatever.
After 9 years, maybe you'll obviously be like, what the fuck, right? Like, I think it was 9 years approximately, like 2007 to 2000.
So so this whole process happened over like 9 or 10 years. So the whole psychological thing happened over a period of time. So eventually, Delhi Forensics Lab gave out their reports and stuff. They did see some form of struggle, which is apparently a natural tendency that a human being has when he tries to hang himself or commits a suicide. So basically they classified this as an act where they were trying to attain some kind of nirvana or some ritualistic thing that just went horribly wrong. So their expectation was everyone will die, or like they won't die but attain some kind of nirvana, go back, meet Lalit's father, and then come back, because they were completely prepared for the future. Like they were getting everything ready for the engagement and stuff, and they even had like food prepared for the next day and stuff. So they were definitely didn't expect not to come back in somewhere. So they were very convinced of this idea.
So there was a screen grab of the CCTV camera where actually these guys were carrying stools up to the top floor, the first floor, to actually hang themselves. So like there's actually them helping themselves out. So I mean
then it's more proof it's voluntary, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, until someone is blackmailing them, why would you like just casually? There's no stress. There's nothing. So yeah. I mean,
so apparently, like one suggestion when this case blew out, given by one psychologist from AIMS, generally, like in these kind of cases, what they do is they do a thing called psychological autopsy, where they talk to everyone close to the person deceased. Generally, in case of suicides, this happens. They talk to everyone in case, to the close family members and stuff, to see if there's some kind of patterns or like some kind of books that they are influenced by, or like is there anything that's affecting them. They kind of try to draw a profile and try to reason it out. But then in this specific case, it almost became impossible to have the psychological autopsy because all the family members committed the mass suicide together. So there was no scope for it.
And
so all of these
closed family. I mean, they didn't have a lot of friends.
Yeah, so all of these evidence that has been gathered and the police, whatever they presented, was all circumstantial evidence.
You need to know something though, like you need to know that the grandmother, right? She had 5 children. So out of which 3 people are dead, like the brother, 2 brothers and 1 sister. And there's another brother who lives in Rajasthan. He didn't even know all this shit was happening.
Was he the eldest?
He didn't live together.
He was the eldest one.
He's the eldest.
But I mean, was he aware of that everyone believed his father had possessed his younger brother, or was he not even aware of that?
So he knew that he's the one who told the whole voice story. So it's the eldest brother who told he got back the voice after talking to his father or whatever. So
we don't have any proof except this guy.
So I mean, was it?
Yeah.
Could he have been responsible and he was just like
maybe he was fucking jealous, right? Like, fuck these people. I'm going to psychologically torture them for the next 10 years. Yeah, but I mean, the facts look like it's pretty. Looks pretty favorable to a self-inflicted, long-term psychological involvement in something spiritual. If that's the right word, I don't know. But,
wait, you said there were 5 siblings, right? Or 6?
5.
He said,
5 siblings. That's what it says.
And 3 perished. So what about the other one?
So there's one other daughter who lives in Haryana.
So this guy has done like full research, bro. I don't know anything
Not
beyond
bad,
the scope
Satish,
of
not
this.
bad at all.
He's gone prepared.
How much time did you spend on this, Satish?
I was reading about this for like 4 hours yesterday, I think.
That's it.
4-5 hours maybe. Yeah, that's it. Like all the articles that are there. Yeah.
Yeah, so finally all I wanted to say is basically conclude by saying that eldest brother, he was not happy with the probe because police basically concluded everything from whatever was present to them. But yeah, there was a dissatisfaction with the probe for the eldest brother. He said he would do something about it.
Was he unhappy the probe occurred, or was he unhappy with the conclusion of the probe?
No, the conclusion of the probe. And he was kind of like not satisfied that it got stopped so quickly.
But it looks like, at least all the facts that show that, like this fucking video footage of them carrying this tool. So I would be sold at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's given our culture, it's not entirely abnormal to see such behavior, I would say. We believe in afterlife very strongly. We believe in, possession of spirits, and all those stories are very common.